Or is he going? Oh, it looks like we're
Okay.
going. So he picked easy, so that does mean he's most likely playing save and quit.
Yep.
We're not going to know that for sure until basically chapter 4.4, but because he picked easy, that's most likely the case.
So right there, it's that window that he had to shoot. It's actually possible to do that before that that last cutscene comes up to save a second, but missed that. So we had mentioned before the oh, there's the dog. No saving the dog in a speedrun. But we'd mentioned before the special costume that you can use, and with this, Ashley has a suit of armor. So with that, he's gonna save a lot of time because we get to abuse that armor a little bit. So that's the reason for this costume.
So for the benefits of New Game Plus, he gets to start with this armor, but he wouldn't usually have it.
Yeah,
correct. That and all the weapons fully upgraded, whatever he wants. This category's based on a lot of movement and skill with, being able to do things quickly rather than New Game, which is all about, trying to survive, kill enemies with the limited weapons that you have. With this, you can kill them as quickly as possible, and it depends heavily on player skill and movement.
Both categories are very difficult for very different reasons. So one thing we should talk about, that the village fight there wasn't much of a village fight. Pretty much that fight just works based on killing X number of enemies, and he did that very quickly by just shooting rockets to kill them as soon as they spawn in their respective areas.
Ooh, he's pretty far up.
Yeah, I think he's got it. Yeah, he's good. He's doing a little glitch here. Normally there's like a QT scene here where you got to run away from a boulder, and by blowing himself up there, he actually was able to skip the trigger for that cutscene happening.
Shout out to our friend JC for finding that. The JC skip. So you'll notice he's running pretty quickly. This is called the Ditman glitch, D-I-T-M-A-N, Ditman. It was found by a guy with the username of Ditman a long, long time ago. And the way it works is he has the striker shotgun in his inventory. If you equip that striker, pull up as if you're going to aim, and then before the red laser comes up, if you switch to another weapon, you'll have your running speed will be 1.5 times normal speed. So as you can see, he's using it right now. He switched to the grenade and is running with that.
So Leon is literally speedrunning.
Yes.
And that's why you see him going in the inventory a lot. He's equipping the striker to set up that glitch. We don't do it in every area, but most areas it's used in. Some areas we won't use it just because the room is too small that the time it takes to equip the glitch doesn't save us time in the long run.
There's also a lot of things that cancel Ditman, such as climbing up ladders that are angled, kicking doors, getting hit, things like that. So there's a few situations where you would think we would want to use it, but because of what's in front of us, it may not be, practical to use.
And there was actually a grenade he threw at the start of that room, and that blew up 2 wooden doors. That's just an example of some of the things we do to preserve keeping the Ditman glitch active.
So I guess one thing we should also talk about is there's a thing in this game called difficulty adjustment.
Yeah.
We call it DA for short. And basically what it is you can manipulate the game into making the enemies basically become dumber or smarter.
Less aggressive the lower the difficulty gets.
So if you get hit or waste shots, not hitting anything, your DA will go down. The enemies will become more stupid. They won't hit you. They won't run at you. Things like that. If you do the opposite, you kill a lot of enemies, don't waste ammo and such, they'll become more aggressive. And we use both of those things in different scenarios where we want them to either back off or we want them to actually be really aggressive, depending.
Yeah. The advantage of them being aggressive in some areas is simply because in some areas their patterns become extremely predictable if they're aggressive. Like Audie said earlier, this game is...
Nice dodge.
Yeah, that was good. Perfect time to talk about it. This game is very based on your movement. Like, a lot of people talk bad about this category because they think it's easy just because, oh, he's running super fast and he can just run by everything. It looks easy, but there's actually a lot of thought going into being able to run past those enemies. You have to actually move in a very specific way in most instances to be able to dodge their attacks. And enemies will always behave a little bit different between runs, so there's a lot of cases too where you have to be prepared to react to what an enemy's going to do. You have to react and move in a certain way to avoid them. And that really goes for a lot of Resident Evil games. In general, Resident Evil games are very based on movement.
For most of the time, the DA is fairly similar, but there's instances where you can never get it exactly the same. No run is exactly the same, so you've got to know each enemy's pathway, how to manipulate every scenario. You just got to know all the backup strats, basically, to be able to do this correctly. Inventory is a very big deal as well, being fast inside the inventory, because that can waste a lot of time by not knowing where you're going, picking the wrong item, and having to go back in and pick the right item, etc., etc.
That's especially the case here on playing on 60 FPS, because with how fast the loads are, you can control fully how fast you're moving in the inventory. On a slower load, you kind of have to wait for it to come up, but with this, you will go as fast as you can possibly press the buttons.
So now we've talked about kind of the basics of the game. We should talk about some of the things that you're about to see here and
what's particular.
So there's a boss coming up called Del Lago, which means the lake, and it's a huge salamander that got mutated into this crazy monster. Lives in this lake, and you have to hit him with harpoons. So on a game type like New Game Plus Normal or New Game Plus Easy, or even Amateur, you can take some DA, make it really low, and get a lower harpoon hit amount than you would normally have. So normally it'd be 11. We can get it down to 5 on Amateur. On this, I don't know exactly what his DA is right now, so I don't know if he's going to be getting 9 or 10. He could potentially get 8, I think, on Easy. But he hit the tree.
That log is deceivingly hard to get around, and he doesn't want to go too far to the right because that'll actually kind of mess up the pattern he wanted, so he just cut it a little too close there. And now this is going to be interesting, because now the whole pattern we want is kind of messed up.
So a lot of people think that this fight is completely RNG, which actually it's not at all. You can manipulate the entire fight by taking strategic movements in the boat. He was going for the first movement by the log, but he just didn't go far enough right. And on 60 FPS, the hitboxes of both enemies and objects is much larger for some reason. So it's very deceiving whenever you try and go past it on 60. But at this point, instead of having the correct manipulated pattern that he would want, that he knows, he's basically just having to ad-lib this now and just wait for Del Lago to come up for him to hit him. So it's unfortunate when you get hit like that. Normally that would be a reset, but obviously,
Yeah. So he actually lost quite a bit of time to that, but he handled it well. The main thing you gotta keep in mind in that situation is to just be very careful, because he's gonna do stuff you're not used to at that point. But yeah, the usual pattern that we would want to do, there's some things that can go wrong with that. There's different types of dives under the water he'll do. And as Audie said, we really just have to move in a very particular way for him to do the dive that we want.
All right, so at this point, on 30 FPS, we actually have a skip here that saves about 11 seconds called the waterfall skip. But on 60 FPS, you can't do a lot of the out-of-bounds glitches. So instead, he's just going to be hitting the switch and then running back.
Yeah, pretty much
yeah, go ahead.
The glitch would allow us to jump down here and get out of bounds and skip a little bit of this area.
was just gonna say I had noticed someone in chat saying that the costume wasn't the same in the cutscene, and that is true.
Yeah. For some reason, that doesn't happen with this particular costume. The other special costume it does, but not this one.
So in the cutscenes, you'll actually see Leon wearing something completely different, and we don't know why that is. They just didn't code it in there.
We're just lazy, I guess.
So next up is El Gigante. Want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, there's not much to talk about. I mean, regardless of what category you're playing, whether you are on New Game Plus, we have this infinite rocket launcher, and if you're on New Game, you're buying a single fire rocket for this, and you pretty much just waste them. Most of the bosses in this game are not particularly relevant, regardless of what category you're playing, because even on New Game, you're buying a lot of rockets to take out these bosses immediately. I do want to bring up, if anybody can fix it, I did see some comments in the chat that the sync between our commentary and the video is off, so I'm not sure what can be done to fix that. But
I tried to refresh. It didn't really change that much for me, but hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. So we're in the church right now. There's a little miniature puzzle we've got to do here, and there's a lot of these puzzles in RA4 where you think they're hard, and the first time you play them, they're confusing, and it takes you a couple minutes to figure out, all right, what do I need to do? In speedrunning, however, we found out that each one of them is super simple.
Yep.
So these, he did it real quick.
The puzzles are all pretty simple. You just need to know the combination, and all it really comes down to is just being quick with your fingers and just doing those inputs as fast as you can.
So that puzzle was just 2, 3, 1. There's one later that's 1, 2, 3. There's another one that's 3, 2, 1.
So here's our knight in shining armor. Everyone's favorite character. This is where we get Ashley, who she's kind of the whole reason this game exists, because she's for anyone who doesn't know the story, she's the president's daughter, and she got kidnapped, and that's why Leon's here. He's trying to save her. So
the president sent in one man with a 9mm.
One man.
And that's it. To rescue his daughter. Good
one
father.
Guy. Yep. Real good guy.
I'm gonna need you to go to Spain and
Yeah. So yeah, with this costume, as we mentioned earlier, she gets this armor, makes her invincible, and also she can't be picked up and carried away by Ganados. So there's a few areas where, well, in fact, this is one of them where we get to kind of abuse that and take a path that we wouldn't want to take if she didn't have armor, because it could potentially be unsafe for her.
Fun fact is Ashley actually runs faster than Leon, but not fast enough to be able to keep up with the Dipman glitch. So for most of the run, when we have Ashley, you will see us not use the Dipman glitch. But there are some scenarios where we will use it with Ashley, and because she is faster, she will actually catch up to us, and it actually shaves some time.
Yeah. So we're basically, in those areas, we're pretty much unlocking her ability to run fast. Because she'll run faster than us, like, if she has to catch up. That's kind of why they programmed it that way, so that she can catch up to Leon easily.
So here comes the cabin, which on a casual playthrough the first time is
Pretty
one of
tough.
the worst experiences of your life.
It's also one of the worst experiences of your life if you're playing the new game category of this, but that's a different subject entirely.
It's not fun. It's very, very random.
It's one of the big run killers for new game, but here we pretty much just got particular areas out there that we want to just keep hitting with these rockets, and we're just killing them right as they're spawning. We do have a guy named Lewis here in the cabin with us, and he's killing some guys as well. So the speed of the cabin can vary a little bit based on how well he's doing.
So
right there, right there he was just helping Lewis because he was being grabbed. So we want to keep Lewis killing Ganados to make the thing go faster, because that fight ends once you've killed X number of Ganados. There was something that had happened a while ago. I don't know if you guys noticed it. You probably did. But there was one point at which there was a enemy manipulation by having Ashley wait and then follow again. You guys may see that used quite a bit. We were talking before about how there's a lot of different things we can do to manipulate the behavior of enemies, and that's one of those things. There's a lot of different tricks that we can use to make them do what we want.
So right here is one of the spots where we'll actually use Ditman with Ashley, knowing that she'll be able to catch up and there's no enemies in the way to make her crouch or pick her up to stop her movement. So we'll just kind of get to the end here. It's a long enough run to where it's worth it, and then she'll run to us, and then we get on the gondola. So at this point, he's going to be doing some DA manipulation where he's going to be taking some hits on purpose. A lot of people will ask questions the first time they say this is, why is he getting hit, or what's he doing?
Yeah, why, you know?
So
why
he's
would you
going to
do
be taking hits, I think, but we may be completely wrong because he's on easy. Okay,
That's
yeah,
true.
he's shooting the striker, so...
That also lowers difficulty if he's missing shots. But it looks like he may not actually take any hits.
Yeah.
Like on the normal difficulty, we would have to take a lot of hits here to get our difficulty low for the next chapter coming up. But here on easy, I guess he doesn't really need that.
I'm going to chime in here for just
low.
a second. We are getting some desync issues. Whenever we got a moment, I think we should all just refresh our pages here real quick, just so that we're on the same.
Now would be a good time for that, actually. Now's a very good
Perfect.
time for that. Hopefully that'll help us out.
All right, so here's another instance of him doing the Ditman with Ashley near him. And it's a long enough to run where it'll save time.
Alright, my stream's back. Hopefully that helps the desync. You're gonna see another very easy boss here.
This is the big
On
cheese.
account of the overpowered weapons.
So he's going to PRL flash him once, flash him again, and he's done.
And that's it. The PRL is very overpowered.
This is why we
Boss is
don't
very
like
irrelevant.
the versions after GameCube, is because the GameCube does not have that weapon. It's called the PRL 412, I believe, and it stands for Plaga Removal Laser, but it actually kills anything and everything, including boxes and crates and everything else.
It's actually called the Pretty Rad Laser 420.
Yeah, my mistake.
And it's pretty rad.
But yeah, that was Chief Mendez, aka the Big Cheese, and yeah, pretty simple fight. Even on New Game, it's very fast. He's one of those bosses that's just, nothing really.
The boss fights of this game are not the boss fight. It's when it comes
Yeah.
to speedruns.
The boss fights are
even in
particular
New Game.
rooms.
Even in New Game, like, the bosses are really not very difficult. But there's just certain areas of the game that are very hard instead.
Yeah, in the PS2 version, the PRL wasn't super overpowered. It only shot one laser.
It didn't
and
lock
only
to everything.
actually killed enemies only, no boxes or anything like that. But once the
Yep.
Wii version came out, they completely changed it.
Yeah, the PS2 is the first appearance of it.
Oh boy, you're gonna
Getting
get
a little lost in the inventory. But
So he puts Ashley up there, knowing she's invincible.
because why not? And she gets a little treat. And interestingly, this guy just dies from a flash grenade. One thing we actually didn't mention, the reason he uses a flash grenade for that instead of any gun that he has is because it saves us a little time on our movement due to the fact that if you're running with any kind of item that has this open-armed animation, where he's holding something with one hand, he actually runs slightly faster. And that's also the reason that you'll see him running with a grenade in any area where he doesn't need any kind of weapon. We're always trying to run. We're trying to run with the grenade whenever we can to move a little quicker. So we're now in the castle. We've left the village area of the game. The game has 3 major areas. It has the village, the castle, and the island. We're now entering the village, which is the longest of the 3 areas. Most of the run is going to be spent here. And in the village, the first time playing this game in the village, you might think the game's a little over the top, but that it's more or less a convincing survival horror. But once you get to the castle, all logic gets thrown out the window. A lot of weird stuff starts to happen, and we'll see that soon enough.
This is where the game becomes super unbelievable. It's a Hollywood movie at this point.
So we'd mentioned
Castle.
earlier. I'll let you finish first.
I was just gonna say the castle, in my opinion, is the hardest part of the game. In both New Game and New Game Plus. For New Game, it's just hard to survive and do everything to live. But in New Game Plus, the movement here is ridiculous. And he actually just skipped a section. This is one thing we didn't talk about, was the difficulty. So because he's on easy, and if you're on easy or amateur, which amateur is exclusive to the Japanese version of the game, you can only get it on any of the Japanese versions of any of the consoles after GameCube. It's not in the North American or PAL versions, but it actually cuts out portions of the game, which makes it faster.
Quite a bit.
But it's also not the standard version that we play. We play on normal because it doesn't skip any of the sections, and that's why it's like the standard. But easy and amateur skip the key room, the clock tower, and there's a couple other places.
Quite a lot.
Get to them. We'll
mention them as we go. But
basically, he was supposed to go grab a key to get into the castle, but they just lock off that door, and if you try to go to it, it literally says this door is locked. And
that area is actually a pretty tough room in the speedrun normally, so it's kind of nice that it's cut out here. But the main reason normal's the standard is there was a very long period of time where easy and amateur really weren't considered legitimate categories, but now they all have their own subcategories, but normal is still the most popular. So here we're going to see a lot of abuse of the Ashley armor, more than likely. This room can get pretty hairy, a lot of different things can happen with the enemies, but we get to use Ashley quite a bit, kind of as a meat shield because of her invincibility. So he's more than likely going to be able to get past some enemies just by having them hit her instead of him.
Wow.
Oh, wow, okay. I didn't expect that. That guy almost stopped her.
So that was kind of a risky strat. He used Dipman and left Ashley down there, and I thought for sure that she was going to get grabbed, but she didn't, so that was good.
Yep.
Also, he's making her crank just so he's able to kill the enemies without himself having to crank it and then her getting captured. It's more or less like a safe strat. It's not faster, it's actually slower. It's a second slower than cranking yourself, but it's definitely safer. So for this type of a marathon, I can see why he would do that.
There was Rocks in chat just mentioned about the records for this category. More than likely, we don't know this, but we're pretty sure that Umeda here is doing a save and quit run with easy. So that means that at one point he will actually be quitting to change the frame rate. That's kind of its own subcategory. So he's done a few different things though.
Yeah,
but we think that's
what his run on New Game Plus normal, like the normal New Game Plus. You'll see it under save and quit. And I believe his time is a 1:18, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's something in that area. But he does play several different things.
Speedrun.com doesn't have the full list of things. If you want to see the full list, just go to re4central.com and you'll be able to see it.
It's kind of a good time to talk about all this because this part we really just have to wait on Ashley.
This is an auto-scroller
on here.
This part can't be sped up any. We just wait for Ashley to crank those 2 cranks up at the top, which raise some bridges out of the water so that we can cross over.
That good water break.
But yes, as they were saying, Umeda is he's known as an RE5 player more than RE4, but he's definitely good at both. Very good at both.
I didn't get a chance to mention it yet, but I do want to bring up that we were talking about how on the normal difficulty you would lower your difficulty a lot on that gondola section. That is for this room, the water hall. Because in this room there are actually 2 different waves of enemies that will not spawn if your difficulty is low enough, and having those enemies not spawn saves really a lot of time. Makes the strategy we can use a lot faster.
So next we're going to see the Novistadors, aka the bugs, which are the worst enemies in the entire game.
You might see Leon get whacked around a little bit. Possibly.
So you're going to see him moving the camera where he's not looking at the bugs, and there's a reason for that. It's called the camera trick, and basically what it does is the game has a code in it that says, hey, if you can't see the enemy's accuracy and or aggressiveness should go down. So it's kind of like the boogeyman being under the sheets. It's like, if I'm under the sheets, he can't hit me. He can't hurt me at all. It's the same kind of thing. You just don't look at the bugs and they can't hurt you. Or you hope, at least. So it doesn't completely nullify them, but it does give you a better chance of not getting hit by them because they are less likely to attack you.
Which he did successfully do that here. There are 3 areas with Novistadors, and it's a little tricky. You have to move in a very particular way in addition to looking away from them to ensure you won't get hit. And sometimes you'll still get hit because they don't really care about you.
They can one-shot you. They can chop your head off. They can grab you. They can kick you. Basically,
they can do a lot of bad things.
Is the worst.
And just for the record, Novistadors are the boogeyman to me from now on. I've never heard that analogy, but...
Oh, really? You've never heard me say that?
Nah, I've never heard. The boogeyman's gonna get you.
Yep.
Watch out.
So we're at a part called the Red Zealot. There's a guy named the Red Zealot, but we call him Ricky Bobby. The reason we call him Ricky Bobby, which you guys won't actually be able to see today because Umeda's on 60 FPS and the glitch doesn't work. But on 30 FPS, if you throw an incendiary grenade on that guy before that cutscene that he just skipped, he will actually get hit by it inside the cutscene, but there will be no fire on the screen. So he's literally getting hurt by an invisible fire, screaming for Oprah Winfrey and Tom Cruise to help him.
That prevents him from running away, so we get to kill him right there.
But in this puzzle, as I said, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4 puzzle.
Yeah, it's literally
1, 2, 3, and 4.
But yeah, again, that's one of those glitches that only works at the 30 FPS frame rate.
So this is the goat ornament room. He needs to pick up the goat ornament of... Yeah, it's the goat ornament piece, but there's 3 pieces for a Chimera wall that he needs to grab to be able to proceed through the game. And if we can find a way past that wall, we will save about 30 minutes or so, I think. No, it was actually maybe 18 whenever we actually...
Quite a lot. But this whole part of the game is getting these 3 key items to be able to proceed through the castle, basically.
You got to get the goat ornament, the lion head.
Talk about dog mace and TMP, which
so
that's all you.
Well, here's the thing. There's a maze coming up. There was a room back there though that on the GameCube we can actually pop a lock from the opposite side of the door and just walk straight through. However, because Umeda's playing on easy, he also gets to skip the maze because the door is just open.
Yeah, this is one of those areas that gets skipped with the easy and amateur difficulties. But
it's almost as fast as doing the glitch. So
yeah, but that glitch is exclusive to GameCube. That was there's 2 areas it's used on GameCube, but that was patched out. So on other versions, if you're playing on normal or professional difficulty, you have to go through that dog maze. But that area is not particularly significant in the speedrun. It's just a lot of movement. but here we don't have to deal with it on the easy difficulty.
So he actually didn't need to shoot there. I think he was thinking about New Game Plus normal. There's usually 3 guys down there at the bottom, and we would want to shoot them. But on easy, they don't exist. I don't know if he's going to get through that door.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I thought I was going to close on him.
Yep. We had mentioned earlier, kicking doors deactivates your Ditman, so situations like that, he wants to get through the door before it closes to keep it.
So I wonder if he's going to do the Ashley strat. Okay, yeah, it looks like he is.
Yep.
Okay, nice. So you can actually shoot Ashley here to make her run quicker. Like, she'll get up quicker than normal. And this basically stops some of the animation and makes this section about, 2-3 seconds faster total?
Yeah, which is quite a lot for such a small section.
He's going to shoot her again right here.
Yeah. Again, she'll move faster this way. And also that red zealot gets a nice little treat right as he spawns, as you saw.
And then we got this section, which is the most pointless section in the game.
A lot of movement. You just play as Ashley for a little bit, and you just got to get through here. There's a puzzle in this area. That the first time playing the game, it's a very difficult puzzle.
This is definitely the hardest puzzle in the game.
For anybody in chat who possibly has played this game, but has not seen a speedrun of it, you're probably going to feel really stupid when you see this puzzle.
As I said, it's not a hard game to play because of New Game Plus. You have a lot of, overpowered weapons and such, but it's hard to play it optimally.
Fast. Yeah. New Game Plus is
the thing.
It's very easy. It's very, very easy to get into. It's extremely easy to complete a speedrun of New Game Plus. The difficulty in it is, doing it as fast as you can.
All right, here we go. What's he doing? Oh, he's going backwards? What?
Oh,
I've never seen this before in my life.
Yeah, I've never seen that. Oh,
what
no.
did he do?
Oh, he might have had a brain fart, actually. I think this should be fine, though, as long as he just...
He can still go back the other way around.
Yeah, he's just going back. Yeah, I think he just... I think he just had a little brain fart, and he actually went the wrong way with the puzzle.
I've never seen anyone do that before.
Man. That sucks.
Oh, the nerves.
Oh, man. So, I'm pretty sure I'll do it right this time. You just have to go one direction with all the pieces. The puzzle's too hard even for speedrunning.
Well, that was pretty good.
Yep.
Alright, let's see what we got this time. There you go. There we go.
So that's all it is. But as you can see there, even for a speedrunner, if you make a mistake on the inputs, you get very confused with where the puzzle is at.
So that's the second piece that we need for the Chimera wall. That was the serpent piece. So then there's only one left that we have to grab. So this part we have the Ashley costume, so we can literally just take these hits instead of dodging the QTEs. Normally we would dodge them, on a normal playthrough of the game, and Ashley would fall down to the ground and then have to get back up as she dodged. But because we have the suit of armor on Special 2, we're able to just tank those hits and keep walking, which saves us, how long? Probably like 3 seconds overall, because like it's second each.
Yeah, probably. It's actually pretty slow to dodge it. If you're playing New Game on professional difficulty, which is pretty much the difficulty most people play New Game on, they will kill you in one shot, so we do have to dodge those there. But
yeah,
here we can just take it because they're invincible. So that's the end of that. No more playing as Ashley. This is where any kind of possible logic within the game goes out the window, because now we have a lava pit. Now we are in a stereotypical medieval castle. and we have this this little gem right here.
Who has this as a room? Like, why do you?
Salazar
You're talking to
family's
your
messed up. Dude.
architecture, your architect, your
Yeah.
engineer. You're like, all right, I want to build
Like-
this castle. Right?
Like, hey, I want a lava death room. Make it happen.
I want there to be dragons. I want there to be a carousel. Like, I want it to be all fancy. Like,
Yeah, we need all the
What?
fixins in here. So if you thought this game made any kind of sense in the village, you were wrong. And also, it's a mushroom.
yeah, Zach, my man. So there's the last piece that we need. And like I said, if we could skip that wall, we would save like 18 minutes. We have a way to get Ashley through the wall, but we have no way of getting Leon through the wall. And we have to be able to get both. If we could somehow do that, we would shave off
A lot.
a huge chunk of time, and the run would actually become a sub-hour run.
Yeah,
So-
definitely. Like the Chimera wall is you see it it closes up in a cutscene like pretty much right when you enter the castle. And for this whole section of the game, from that point until now, we've been collecting those pieces to get past it. So if there was some way to get past that wall, then literally everything you've seen from entering the castle until now would be skipped.
Now, have there been any theories or any glitch hunting in terms of trying to
Yes.
find a... Yeah,
We've actually
yeah.
put a lot of man hours into trying to do it.
I can imagine.
We can get Ashley through it. The problem is, as soon as you enter the castle, there's a cutscene, and you'll see that wall that he just put those things into. It will rise up from the ground and block your path. So you basically can't run too far forward, or you'll hit that little trigger. So we're trying to figure out a way to bypass that trigger. We can get Ashley through the trigger by throwing eggs at her, which is really funny. We
It's
just keep chunking
pretty
eggs at her,
convoluted.
and she'll walk backwards and eventually just walk her way all the way back inside of the room. And we can then, once we move forward, she's stuck behind there. The problem is now we can't get behind there.
Yeah, no way to get Leon back there.
But we've tried. We've definitely tried. And we used to have
Yeah.
a bounty up for it a long time ago, but
Yeah. Uh-oh. He didn't push it. Oh, no, Ashley's not on the thing.
you may want to refresh, Carp.
Oh,
A little bit
falling behind again.
No, you good though.
Dang it.
Here's another one of those rooms that's very like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
These guys come out and they're on this
They-
spinning wheel of death.
They were born behind that wall.
There's
They-
actually really funny game-breaking things we can do with that thing. And the cutscene. Shout out to Extreme Lampshade for finding that.
Here's a...
So normally we'd be collecting 2 grails here to open a door. The Queen's Grail and the King's Grail. However, the harder room is actually blocked off. So he was supposed to actually come out of that door and just keep going forward into the long hallway. But instead, the other grail is already just kind of placed there for us in that room where the 3 Armaduras or Knights are. It gets blocked off on easy. So we just skip it. On New Game, that's one of the scariest rooms
Yeah.
by far.
Corridors are kind of tricky. And also, here's the second Novista area. And this area can be a little spooky because they can just do random stuff and hit you for no reason. That doesn't happen too often on New Game Plus because of the PRL. But on New Game, this room is very much a run killer. You have very little equipment to prevent these guys from ruining your day.
And on versions like the GameCube where you don't have a PRL, it's very scary.
Yeah, even for New Game Plus, it's a big problem on
Here's another section that's
on
blocked
New
off.
GameCube.
Normally you would run left
yeah.
and go inside the clock tower.
And there's
However, on
actually
easy-
a big area.
You don't.
This
You get
this
to
is a very big area that's bypassed and easy.
That's like a full minute or more for sure, like skipped.
Yep.
This is why easy and amateur were so controversial for the longest
long time.
time, is because they cut out so much of the game. But, you know, once the community and everyone just agreed to, you know, make them their own separate, you know, based on difficulty, everything's separated now by professional, normal, easy, and amateur, depending on what you play. You know, each world record's separate. It became nothing. It was just like, okay, play whatever you want to.
Yeah.
For the longest time, you know, we were like a lot of people were against it and didn't allow for it and stuff. But that's changed through the years, and now anything and everything is accepted.
The most popular thing to do is still normal. But you know, this is now a legitimate subcategory.
So now he's gonna fight Vertigo or Vertigo, however you want to say it.
He's gonna get to do some stuff. Vertigo's gonna give him some QTs.
That dodge. Oh, I didn't get the second one.
That was a nice first one though.
Man, yeah, he
yeah. There's some slight trickery to fool those QTs, but there's two different inputs. You saw the first one was an L and R input, and the second one was an A and X input. And that A and X input is actually kind of finicky. Like sometimes you can do the trick correctly, and it still won't work. But
so what he essentially did was he stepped back at the exact frame he needed to not get hit by the QTE, and that saved him from either A, getting hit and losing his Ditman, or B, actually pressing the QTE and losing his Ditman. So it saves, overall, it's like 6 seconds if you were to get both. But he was able to get one, and if you get the first one's a lot better to get than the second one, I would say. Like, for sure.
Yeah, because then you have your Ditman longer.
So next is a room where, on every version except for the GameCube NTSC version,
NTSC specifically,
NTSC only, the very first version that ever came out was GameCube North America. It didn't even come out in Japan first. Japan came after, which was like a couple months after. But on the North American version, you cannot blow up this boulder like he just did. And so we have to actually do a skip to go around that. But on every other version, you can just blow it up. Easy peasy.
It just so happens that for that version where you cannot blow it up, there's actually an out of bounds glitch in that room. So we get to use that on that version to get past it. There's actually there's even two ways of doing that out of bounds. There was one discovered last year or so. And that's a hard glitch to do. A lot of interesting version trivia for you.
We call the Novi Store rooms layers of hell. There's first layer, second layer, and third layer. This is the third layer of hell.
The final.
And final this one's definitely the worst one. Unless, well, I don't know. Second and third are pretty equal, I'd say.
In my opinion, if you're playing New Game, the second is worst.
Yeah, but, for sure.
I think on New Game Plus, this one is the worst. Just because there's really a lot of them, and even with the PRL, sometimes one just decides to get through.
See if he gets Skrillo's shot. Oh, he didn't even go for it? Okay. So there's a shot that you can do with the PRL in a specific spot there where you can shoot and it'll actually hit the bugs inside the cave there. And it'll also shoot behind you and kill the bugs that are coming in from behind, which he was able to get past there. So he's good to go now. He should get hit. Yep, no trolls today, so that's good. So this is called Pillar Skip. Go ahead, Kurt.
Pretty much due to Ditman, he's able to get past that pillar without it crushing him, even though normally the game wants you to wait. And there at the second part, you would pull a lever and wait between the three. But due to Ditman glitch, you don't have to do any of that. You're actually fast enough. If you move well enough, you are fast enough to completely bypass all of that. And that's one of several things that are possible only due to the Ditman glitch.
So what's coming up?
Many of the glitches in this game are only possible because of Ditman.
Very true. There are a couple out of bounds that you can do without it, but most of the time you have to have Ditman active. But what's coming up next is by far the biggest time save to ever happen in RA4, and that is the minecart skip. So normally we would have to ride a minecart all the way down this track. It's an autoscroller.
Very long autoscroller.
But we found a way to skip it, and it literally saves us 1 minute and 45 seconds.
It's big. This skip was actually like this was like a dream skip for us at one time. We actually had a bounty out for it. We were gonna pay somebody if they could figure out how to do this glitch.
They actually found it, and I did pay them, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that in fact did happen.
How long ago was this glitch discovered?
Year?
20...
Maybe a year?
Let me think about that. January 2016, I believe.
Oh,
I
so
think
maybe 2 years. That's hard to believe.
These spikes on the ceiling are supposed to activate, but on easy, that's another room that they just skip. But here comes the minecart skip.
Yeah,
So there's two
here's
ways
the
of
big
doing
one.
But on 60 FPS, it's literally free. So you're going to see him do it right here.
It's pretty simple.
Stand up
Here.
against that post, jump down, and run to the top left, and you just kind of clip through.
And
now we're out of just run down the thing ourselves.
So what you see in front of you here is where this entire auto-scroller rail would normally end. This would be, you're close to the end of the auto-scroller. But since we're able to get out of bounds here, we can run directly to this area, clip back in bounds like so, and just run to the end.
This is only possible on 60 FPS.
This method of doing it is
the Steam version, the Xbox One, and PS4 are the only ones that are 60 FPS. However, a couple months ago, we actually found a way.
You're actually wrong. It's only Steam 60.
Is it only Steam?
This version, this version of doing the skip is only Steam 60.
I remember. Yes, we had to do it the other way on Xbox One and PS4. So even though they are 60 FPS, they're actually 59.94 FPS. So it doesn't actually let us do it. I remember that.
Yeah.
Those versions are so new that it's like, we still don't know everything. But those two are kind of the weird versions. But anyways, a couple months ago, we found a way to do it on 30 FPS. It's slower by about how much? 15?
About 15 seconds. That method of doing it was discovered pretty recently, and we were all really excited because when this skip that you just saw was discovered, everybody who, including myself, everybody who was playing versions other than this version was very sad that even though it was found, they still couldn't do it. But yeah, there was another method of doing it discovered that works on every other version, and now we get to do that. And that version of doing it is actually kind of tough. So it's become sort of a run killer, but it's very exciting that we can do it.
It's a blessing and a curse on 30 FPS.
It is.
It's not fun. It's very hard.
It's easy, but it's hard.
Exactly.
It's like it should be easy, but
it's not.
You'll get to a point where you think you've mastered it and you think it's easy, and then you just make one tiny error and it ruins the whole thing. It's a pretty interesting setup, actually. You actually ride the minecart for a little bit during that method, and you jump out partway, basically. So we have an animated statue, by the way. You might have noticed. This game is the castle continues to make no sense. So enjoy that.
All right. Oh, he's going for the super mash. You can see him. He's putting his head down. That's when you know. That part you have to mash extremely fast, just specifically the climb up. For some reason, on 60 FPS, if you don't mash that thing as fast as humanly possible, you will die.
Capcom actually made a public statement about that QTE that they literally made a public statement admitting that they screwed up. They didn't intend for it to be that hard, but on 60 FPS you actually have to mash really fast to not die on that one.
So we're almost to the end of Castle in general.
Yeah, very close.
Just gotta ride this auto-scroller and then fight Salazar.
Or not fight Salazar.
Yes, and you're about to see.
So we don't know for a fact that he's doing the save and quit subcategory, but we're pretty sure he is, and we're about to find out, because if he is doing that, this is the point in the game at which you would switch frame rates, and the reason for that is there are 2 glitches coming up that are only possible at 30 FPS. So we will see if that's what he's going to do. I'm pretty sure that's what he's going to do.
Fun fact as well, save and quit is the only version of the game that is timed via real time. Every other version is in game time, but because we have to save the game and quit out and come back in, it's technically segmented. So the in-game timer stops when we're on the main menu. So when this was created, we decided to do it by real time.
That was the stipulation for
That's the only way to
having
make it
be.
fair and not segmented in the first place. But this category is not played very much at all. Like, this is one of those
Essentially.
ones that's just very weird to us.
The concern with not making this in real time was it would be very, very easy to cheat on this and splice a run if it weren't timed that way. So he is in fact switching frame rate. That is what we are doing today.
Yep. So save and quit time, boys.
We mentioned this at the start, but for anyone who wasn't here at the start, the reason that you have to save and quit for that is this game does not allow you to switch frame rate inside of the game. So
you can switch from 30 to 60, but not from 60 to 30.
And we need to switch to 30. So here's the first of the two glitches that are exclusive to 30 FPS.
Oh no. Yep. Having to reset.
Yeah. He messed up the setup for the glitch a little bit. The placement and positioning for this glitch is pretty precise.
It's yeah.
It's
one of the harder ones for sure when you're first learning.
So as I had said, we're gonna not fight
good.
Salazar.
There we go.
And this is what I meant. We do not have to fight Salazar. And that does not work at 60 FPS. So that is the reason for the frame rate switch at this point in the game. That glitch is tough. Really takes a lot of practice to be consistent at it.
So he's going to stay on 30. It's not worth to try to switch to 60 and switch back because we're about to do another glitch. There's two glitches back to back that happen. We are now out of the castle. We're moving on to the island. We take a boat, I guess, speedboat over to a different island.
Girl Ada hooks us up, and we get to the island.
He's gonna skip this. Normally there would be a mirror puzzle we would do. If you were just on straight 60 FPS, you would have to do that. On every other version of the game in 30 FPS, you can skip it. So he's gonna run over here, jump down in a very specific spot, and go out of bounds.
A little more walking on air action for you. And this skip saves about 45 seconds. It skips quite a big area. It's that whole area that you see in front of you as he's working his way up the geometry here. And it just brings you directly to the end of the area.
That used to be the biggest glitch, like time save wise, until Minecart was found.
So now there's going to be a typewriter coming up very soon, and when he gets to that, he's going to save again to switch back to 60 FPS, because now, after doing those two glitches, there's no advantage to 30 FPS, speed-wise.
And there's actually two ways you could do this. You can either, switch the frame rate in the game, but it also leaves things on, such as like HD textures and stuff, which makes it a little bit slower. But if you have a good machine, it won't matter. The other way is to do what he's doing, go back to the main menu and only change the frame rate, and all the other motion blur and that kind of stuff isn't turned on.
Yeah.
So now we're going to run past Firelord Ozai here in a second.
Yeah. The Furnace Man.
Yeah.
Here he is. If you just move in a certain way, he will not get you.
So here's another skip. You want to talk about this one, Carp?
Yeah, this is another one of those glitches that is possible due to the running speed of the Ditman glitch. There are guys behind a garage door here, and normally, when you approach them, they close the door, like so. But due to the Ditman glitch, you can bait them to open the door and actually run past the door before they close it again. So if you didn't have the Ditman glitch, there would be no possible way to get past that garage door without actually killing the guys who are closing it.
And there's multiple waves of guys you would have to kill.
Yeah, so that glitch actually saves quite a lot of time.
Here's another easy puzzle. 3, 2, and 1.
Audie's notoriously good at inputting that puzzle very fast. Every runner has like a puzzle that for some reason they're just really good at hitting the buttons fast.
So this part, when you first play, is super scary when you see these enemies called the Regenerators. They make this wheezing noise and you just kind of like hear them around the corner. You have no idea what's about to happen. And then you find out they're almost impossible to kill unless you shoot like certain parts of their body with an infrared scope on a sniper.
Yeah, that's the intended way of killing them. You want to snipe Plagos out of their body, but fortunately, they're actually quite stupid, and we just have to bait them to swing at us, and that's that. So they're quite irrelevant in a speedrun. Fortunately.
Do you guys want to refresh stream and everything? Seems like there's people saying we've got some delay or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably should.
let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, unfortunately, you seem to be having issues with that, but as I saw somebody in chat say just now, that is in fact the nature of a restream.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate. Good old Twitch, you know how reliable it is.
Yeah.
So anywho, there's another form of the regenerator that have spikes, and they're called Iron Maidens. And those are even harder to kill, and they can hurt you a lot.
Yeah, this one we do have to kill because he has a key item. But that's no problem when you have a rocket. So there's that.
Even on New Game, you'd be killing them with a rocket. You would they utilize the merchant a lot, collecting money and buying single-use rocket launchers throughout the run to kill things like that. So he's gonna flash these guys.
Or you will get shot.
Yeah, you pretty much have to on 60. The archers are kind of like aimbots on 60 FPS.
Yep.
And the guys on the normal guys with like flails and shields and all that can pretty much do 360s whenever they want. Like they can turn around 180 real fast or do a complete 360 and hit you. They can just do anything they want. It doesn't matter.
They don't care. We'd mentioned a few times earlier that enemies they behave very differently depending on the frame rate. So if you were to watch somebody play a 30 FPS version, you will see a lot of different stuff going with the enemies.
Another thing that's good about that knight armor is the Ganado tried to pick her up, but she's too heavy, and they drop her. So you can leave Ashley pretty much anywhere, and she'll never get taken away. So that's what he did there, was just to use her as bait so he could run past.
And he did a very good job in those 2 rooms with all the enemies. Those rooms can be a little bit tricky to weave your way through without being hit, and he did a good job of that.
Gonna flash this Iron Maiden and try to push this dumpster 3 times really quickly before he gets up. Made it through.
There's a lot of flash grenade usage in this chapter. Like most of the flash grenades we have in our inventory are actually used right here.
So this is the Miley Cyrus room.
Yeah.
That's what we call it.
Because it's got a good old wrecking ball.
And he's actually watching this cutscene intentionally because it's running in real time. So if you don't skip it, wrecking ball is still moving, but the guys are not. So it basically helps us to save a flash because we don't have to throw as many.
Yeah. So it's essentially, it's not really an autoscroller, but we're waiting on the ball and we just have to keep pulling this lever as we can. And just keep those guys flashed, and then we're good.
There's a way to get through that a little bit quicker where the wrecking ball hits you through the wall, but he didn't try for it. We'll see if he dimmins here or not. Oh, he does. Nice. Okay. So this is a trick that I found like not too long ago where you have her open the door, leave it open, and then you dim in, and it actually saves some time because she's fast enough.
And as you see, Ashley's she's a magician. She can walk through walls.
Yeah.
That's also of note.
And here
so
comes
now we
the most boring part.
Yes, we have the Autoscroller boss rush.
Let me see your resident sleepers in the chat.
Yeah, get your resident sleepers out because this here truck that he's riding, he's gonna be riding it for a little while, and there's nothing we can do about it. So very boring.
He's taking a drink of his water.
Yeah,
we're having a good time.
This is another reason that we were very, very pleased upon the discovery of the minecart skip, because that was just one more autoscroller gone, but we still have to deal with this one. And the worst part is, once we get through with this autoscroller, we immediately enter a very long, unskippable cutscene that also happens to have a whole bunch of QTs that also happen to be very unresponsive QTs that sometimes kill you and it's not your fault.
You can hit them and it just doesn't matter sometimes.
So basically, this part of the game is really great. It's a real treat.
For both the runner and viewers alike.
It's very boring.
If it's okay, I'm going to take this opportunity just to fill everyone in who's just tuning in.
Yep, perfect time.
It's the RTA in Japan 2 marathon. It is the second annual live speedrunning marathon in Japan. You are currently watching the English language restream hosted on twitch.tv/speedgaming3. Speed Gaming also hosts a variety of speedrun events, marathons, and tournaments. So please follow all 4 Speed Gaming channels, follow the runners, and follow the commentators. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. All right, so he is just about to the halfway point, and you actually have to get off of the truck at this point to hit a lever.
Only part where you have to actually do something.
So this elevator comes down, and you gotta get on it and make it go back up. And you gotta go hit that switch, so...
And interestingly, he didn't go for it because there were no items on the ground. But if you do have some items on the ground on the truck with you, there is a frame-perfect trick where if you pick up an item at an exact frame, there is a very short cutscene that does not play, so you can save 3 seconds if you get that trick. But yeah, aside from that, the only thing you really have to do on this truck is hitting that lever, which he has to just kind of weave his way through those guys up there, which is a little different every time, the way you got to do it. So that's a little bit trickier than it looks.
The snow strat.
Yeah.
We have a buddy named Ari Snow, known as probably the best Resident Evil 5 player in the world. Also a very good Separate Ways player on Resident Evil 4, but he he has some swag strats on this track, and we're going to see if Umeda is going to also do those or not. I don't know yet.
Oh, yep, he's
there we
doing
go.
it. He's
starting.
doing it.
Okay.
So if you do this hat tip 3 times, then you are able to do something different the 4th time you do it. He still has to tip it one more time.
One more.
Get that? Yeah.
Oh boy. So he's waiting to see if there's any plaga. All right, there's the last one. All right, so
now
he's primed and ready.
Gets to have a little fun here. A little bit of Ashley abuse going on, but she's a tough girl, so it's okay.
There's a way to get this frame perfect that Carp actually figured out here, but
I'll talk about that once he does it. It's kind of funny though. Yeah, there's the strat. The truck's in here. So what?
No strat.
what Audie had mentioned is there's if you flip your hat at an exact frame, so the camera zooms out there on the truck, and if you hit the hat flip on that on the exact frame that it zooms out, he's doing the hat flip in the zoomed out camera. And I discovered that by accident one day on a run that I PB'd with. So that was kind of funny. But as I said earlier, right after getting through that autoscroller, you immediately get thrown into another very boring thing. The pacing of this game is pretty awful because there's like a lot of action going on up until you get on that truck, and you actually have a lot of momentum going as you're playing the game, and then the truck and this cutscene that we're about to sit through completely kill all of your momentum. And then after that, you immediately get thrown back into a very high action part of the game and have to regain your momentum.
The highest action part of the game.
So it's kind of awful. But yeah, this
to stop and just floors it.
So you guys won't get to hear the discussion that Leon and this guy Krauser have, but they have a whole dialogue that they go through here that every speedrunner has memorized by heart, because you cannot skip this cutscene. And there's like
Catch
50
on quick.
ETs during it.
Dude, we probably could have recited this.
Huh?
We probably could have recited this, dude.
Yeah, we should have, honestly. It's like, it's too late now, because now I'm not sure like where we're at in it.
Sample Sadler did
Let's
love,
see it.
that's all. Ugh.
Alright, you're Krauser, I'm Leon. You got her involved just for that?
Oh, I didn't hear it by Sadler's trust in me. Like you, I'm American.
We came in kind of late, but... I forget where we are. Rip.
You got her involved just for that? I got you.
Oh yeah. I thought we did that already.
JC Strickland has a way to skip this cutscene. I bet you do.
Yeah, I bet he
JC.
does. JC's a
Yeah,
pretty
you're-
cool
you're
guy.
cool.
He found a thing once. It saves 3 seconds.
Yep. All for Umbrella's sake.
Umbrella.
Almost let it slip. Enough talk. Die, comrade. Huh.
Ada.
Well, if it isn't the bee in the red dress.
Looks like we have the upper hand here.
We need snow in here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You may be able to prolong your life, but it's not like you can escape your inevitable death, is it?
You two knew each other?
More or less. Maybe it's about time you told me the reason why you're here.
Maybe some other time.
Nah, you good.
Nah, you.
So this is an area where there is a glitch that is only possible in 30 FPS. Another one of those spots. You can basically run directly through these lasers and not die on 30 FPS doing a particular setup. But that is
See if he does the turnaround or not here. See if he knows about it. Oh, he doesn't. You can save a second there by turning around and hitting the button again. But it's all good. Does he sit in the chair?
Oh, the chair!
Swag! Oh, the swag! Oh. Oh no!
Yes.
Oh,
Thank
oh
goodness.
gosh! My life is complete.
Perfect.
Perfect.
There's a legacy behind that chair.
That is the chair of disrespect.
Yep. So what you do if you're in a race and you're demolishing someone is you sit in the chair. We should. Ah, man. JC, see if you can find the video of the race where Audie sat in the chair versus sound.
I don't know that it's on the channel anymore, dude.
I don't know if it is, but
I
if
think I have
you
it.
can find it, then that'd be good for people to see.
Oh man. All right, so this is U3, aka It. The reason we call him It is because
Oh god,
it's
he's
part
doing
of the
some
game
stuff.
where Sadler literally calls him It. So that's just what we call him.
He's a little bit random. It's pretty rare for him to like really screw you over, but he's a funny fellow. He sometimes likes to do some things that you don't expect.
Oh, he put him in the ceiling. That's not good. He's probably
Yeah.
gonna.
Oh,
Oh
he's
no.
good, he's good,
Oh,
he's good.
okay, we're good.
Yeah. So
All right, so normally you're supposed to run around and hit the switch on the opposite side, but you can just hit it through the wall with a grenade or a rocket. So on New Game, they throw a grenade at it. Here, we use a rocket. Because we're going to be using the rocket to kill it in a second anyways, so might as well just, keep it out, save an inventory trip.
So, fun trivia for you, U3 is the only boss in the game that does not die to one hit with a rocket. However,
pretty
he will die. He will die to a hit with a rocket and one slash of a knife. So, I'm not really sure what the decision was there about his health bar, but... So, after...
Friends.
After our little auto-scroller rush, we now have a boss rush.
Yeah.
You get U3, and then you actually fight Krauser coming up soon.
We go from nothing to a boss rush, and then into a
The
blender.
worst chapter ever made in Blender. Yeah. Get blent. Yeah,
It's where you get wasted.
the final chapter of this game, which is the one after this, is really awful. A lot of different things can happen. It's very random. Anything can happen in every room of the chapter, and it's basically awful. And it has killed many runs, and it has killed some potential world record runs. It's awful.
I really hope that he saves at the end of 5-3.
Yeah, I
Or
hope so.
5-4 because
There's also a possible crash that can happen in that chapter, just to make it even better.
so far I've only seen like one frame drop area
Yeah.
that was like really, really bad. There's
Yeah.
been a couple others that have been like not terrible for him. So I'm wondering if this is indeed his machine or if it's just
I don't know.
another high-end machine that can't run this game because it's a 2005 game that can't
Yeah.
be ran. Like, oh,
So
nice
you guys,
shot.
yeah, you guys haven't seen that Magnum get pulled out for a bit, but that's pretty much the main reason we have it in the inventory.
Saves probably what, 6 seconds,
Maybe overall,
something
like
that.
throughout the game. It really doesn't save us much, but it is worth the space that it takes. Oh, nice statue push.
So that statue is actually really hard to get on 60 FPS. The hitbox of it to get past the wall and be able to get it perfectly without having to move it again is
Yeah,
extremely difficult. So that was good. He got that.
the game kind of intends you to do it in 2 separate pushes, but if you push it just so, then there's no issue. So now we get to actually kill Krauser, and that's pretty irrelevant. On New Game, there's a very cool strat for killing Krauser where you actually use the knife. Because for one reason or another, they programmed it to where Krauser's very weak to the knife, and you can stun lock him with it by backing him into a corner. But we won't get to see that. Here we just give him a little zap. Just give him the zappy gun.
Nice. He did the run.
Yeah.
So if you don't get hit at all in chapter 5-3 and get to the end where Krauser is, then he will actually run at you like that. And if
Which
your
is a
DA
little
is high
faster.
enough. So that's what we want because it's actually faster than him holding up his shield. And
We
us having
also-
to wait.
We also want the difficulty to be as high as possible for this last chapter. As we mentioned, it's very random, and your difficulty being higher actually makes it more consistent because you know what to expect.
That's
Random
why when
things
we're on
can
the
still
truck,
happen, but less so.
we kill pretty much everyone on the truck to get our difficulty as high as possible for this particular
Yeah,
part.
every kill raises the difficulty. But pretty much in this chapter, anything can happen anywhere. You saw you almost got shot by an arrow there. There's several areas where you can potentially be shot by a bunch of different stuff. There's several areas where you jump down, and if you're unlucky, an enemy will be right there and hit you before you gain control of your character. There's really a lot of random stuff that can happen here.
So as you can see, he reset a checkpoint right there that actually despawns all the enemies behind him that had the turrets and such. Did that just for safety. Normally we wouldn't do that. But he decided to just to be safe, which I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And then
For a
here
minute.
it is the first war room, which is the place where the game can crash.
Yeah, it's also the most random room of this chapter. There's really a lot that can happen here. There's also a helicopter pilot helping us in this chapter named Mike. And Mike can help us out a lot, or he can be a real jerk. Because there's several different things that Mike can shoot. And
Oh, no.
he's shooting some... Uh-oh, we got a problem. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Did he hit him? I don't know if
Yeah,
he
he
hit him.
did. He hit the turret. I think he did.
Yeah, he's good. Okay.
What happened there was he didn't hit that turret below with the laser because he didn't get there soon enough, so the turret turned before he could hit him with the laser. But I was talking about Mike shooting different things. Mike actually, in this instance, shot something that we want him to shoot that will save us time. because once we leave from hitting this next button, we can jump down quicker because of what he blew up. But there are a few other things.
RNG, baby.
There are a few other things that if he blows them up, it just loses us time because it gives us a cutscene of him blowing it up, and anything else that he can potentially shoot is worthless to us.
All right, we got past the crash, so we're good.
Yeah, no crash. I forgot
That door. That door he
Forgot
went
about
through
that.
is where the crash will happen, if it was gonna happen.
So Mike's dead now. You might have seen a plume of smoke coming up over the right side of the area there. He kind of got shot down by a rocket. So
Rest in peace, Mike.
at least he did the good thing for us. He was the homie today. You've got homie Mike and you've got scumbag Mike. Usually you get scumbag Mike. Homie Mike's pretty rare. So we're actually seeing some pretty good luck.
Some days you don't
5-4.
want Mike to get hit by the rocket, like today.
Yeah.
And there's other days where you want him to get hit by the rocket.
So this is for all intents and purposes, this is the last real area of the speedrun. There are some things. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
I've never
no,
seen
that's
a
I used to
killing
do
that archer.
I used
I
to do that.
Yeah, I see why he did it, definitely, but I've never seen that. So
That
here we
Archer's very trolly, and he'll hit you from across map.
This room, a lot of random stuff can happen as well. This room can, as you see there was nothing he could do about being hit by that axe or that arrow. Just because of where they were. They're always going to be in a different spot every time, and sometimes you just get hit and there's nothing you can do.
Oh wow,
That was a good dodge with the stun rod. When you're on a good paced run, this room can really get your blood pumping because there's a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot that can really lose you a lot of time, but if you get some decent luck and you get that door held open with the flash and everything, you can really get through this area very quickly. So that room's always kind of a toss-up. It went pretty well in this instance. Like, this 5-4 was not too bad. There were some hits, but it's usually a lot worse than that. So as I said, that's essentially the last room of the game because there is a little bit happening here, but none of it is really difficult because this game, as you're about to find out, in a speedrun, it basically doesn't have a final boss fight because of the PRL.
Yeah.
And even on New Game, it's not very difficult. So just a zap, and that's it.
You don't have to fully charge it. Just zap him.
The most anticlimactic boss fight you've ever seen.
The zap is just supposed to flash people and it kills them. It's amazing.
And
Alright,
that's
let's see if he
basically the run.
gives us the treat of a by Felicia or not.
Yeah, there's
Best
a,
glitch in the game if he does it.
there's a little glitch he can do here using the Dittman glitch. We're gonna see if he does it. I hope he does.
Please do it.
No, he doesn't.
No.
If you activate Dittman and then get on the jet ski, Leon will move like super speed, like he does with Dittman, and he'll just like zoom off, and the jet ski will still be there with Ashley on it. So that's why we call that the Bye Felicia.
So now you just got to get through this crazy tunnel of love, and we're at the end. And then we proceed to take this jet ski all the way across the Atlantic back to the U.S. from Spain, which I don't know how that works, but you know.
Yep. Just on a jet ski. No problem.
And that's the end right there. 1:18:55. That was a good run.
Yeah, not too shabby. I could definitely tell. I think he's actually maybe a little bit rusty. Because I saw some areas where it seemed like he was a little confused. But I mean, overall, that was not a bad run. Especially for a marathon.
Definitely.
Where the pressure is on.
Good stuff, Umeda.
That was a very good run.
That was pretty
Yep,
solid. Pretty darn solid. So
So
yeah,
that-
thanks for having us, guys. It's been a pleasure commentating.
Yeah, glad to have the
RTA in
chance.
Japan. Hopefully we'll be able to do it
Japan.
again in the future.
Yeah. Hopefully this thing keeps going strong. This is the second one, so hoping to
Thanks,
see the
Carpenter.
third one next year.
Thank you both so much for the fantastic commentary. You guys did amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see you guys later.
All right, that'll do it. You guys have a good rest of the day and enjoy all the rest of the runs. Peace.